Here I'm going to ask and answer some questions, bring you comics news, and reveal the books I bought this week. How y'all doing? I'm Victor, and you are watching a Comic Hero Show. Now kick that intro! Edition of the Comic Hero Show. I'm your host Victor Nunley, and I am the Comic Hero. This month is NICU Awareness Month. Now I'm going to touch base more on that a little later on, but for right now, I'm going to remind y'all what the free tea question of the week is. Now, I'm not going to give away a free t-shirt on this episode because I was late doing episode 458, and I was also late uploading it. So it wouldn't be fair for y'all to have to answer a question in a 3-day window. So I'm going to save that for next week. But anyway, I'm going to remind y'all what the question is. What year did the Guardians of the Galaxy make their first appearance in the comics? Now here are the hints. The first hint is that the Brady Bunch premiered in this year. The second hint, Dick Sargent replaced Dick York as Darren Stevens on Bewitched in this year. The third hint, Neil Armstrong walked on the moon in this year. The fourth hint, the Beatles released Abbey Road and played their last public performance in this year. The fifth hint, Isaac Hayes released his second studio album, Hot Buttered Soul, in this year. The sixth hint, Led Zeppelin released their first 2 albums in this year. The seventh hint, the band Chicago released their first album, the Chicago Transit Authority, in this year. The eighth hint, Judy Garland passed away in this year. And then the ninth and final hint, Woodstock. Everyone who answers correctly will be entered in a drawing for a free tea on next week's episode of the show, which is the 10th anniversary episode. I'm going to touch base on that a little later as well. So, I gotta ask, any questions?
Questions I walk around in, questions I didn't thrive in, questions I will survive in, questions.
All right, I have 2 questions for this week, and the first one is from Brittany Methvin from Monroe, Louisiana. She asked, what comics would you recommend for 4th graders or 8 to 10-year-olds? I have a few boys who hate reading but like comics. I want to get them loving comics and at least liking reading by the end of the year. Well, Brittany, I am so glad that you asked me that, because I have something for you. I have a small stack of comics. Now this one is actually 2 books rolled into one. On one side it's Batman and Robin and Howard, and on the other side it's Amethyst. And then I have several others. I have Pokemon Journeys, Street Fighter, Captain Underpants, Dogman, Cat Kid Comic Club, and I'm not going to bore you with all those, but Brittany, I want you to have those books, because I believe reading is something that's very important. It really helped me when I was growing up, because I didn't care to read when I was growing up. And it wasn't until I made the decision to read comics during my sophomore year of high school where I actually got interested in reading. And now, I can read just about any book, any day. And with that being said, I don't, Brittany, I would, one day I would love, if you want, I would love to speak with your class. I would love to supply your students with some comics. Not just a few of them, but all of them. And then, I'm also talking to every teacher, and principal that teaches. It doesn't have to be an elementary school. It could also be a junior high and high school. If you have students that are not that interested in reading, I want to help. Reading is one of the most important things or knowing how to read is one of the most important things a person could ever do. And I want to do everything that I can to help out. Whether it's just supplying books, whether it's speaking to a class, whether it's speaking to an entire school, I want to help. Please, sir, please, ma'am, let me help. All right, but Brittany, let me know. I know you, David, Lil, and Aubrey are watching. So as soon as you're done watching this episode, let me know and I will mail these off to you. All right, second question, and this question comes from, sorry, my phone locked up. It comes from James Muse from Dallas, Texas. He asks, what is your favorite comic-related event that you have attended so far and why? What event do you plan on going to soon? Well, James, it's a no-brainer, but I'd have to say GeekCon. And the reason I say GeekCon is because it's the only con in North Louisiana. And it's in Shreveport, which is in Northwest Louisiana. And Northwest Louisiana is home. Now, I may have been born in Minden, and I may have been raised outside of Homer and graduated from Homer High School years ago. But Shreveport is my home away from home. I have family and friends out there. I attended college out there for 3 years. The Shreveport-Bossier area, I mean, it's home. And I was very blessed to do GeekCon this year and then 2 years ago, and I'm going to do it every year. You love the people out there. Now, but it's also kind of difficult because when I started doing the show, I was actually living in West Monroe, and I didn't have the, now I was generally known out there in the 4.5 years that I lived out there and was doing the show. But when I came out here, it was a whole different story. The only people that knew that I did the show were family. And I had to this day I'm still having a hard time, gaining acceptance, but that's fine. Because here's the thing, I don't do it, now I do it for the exposure, sure, but that's not really why I do it. I do it because I love it. I just love sharing my love of comics and life with y'all. But as far as the next event I'm going to go to, that all depends on whether it's going to happen or not, because it didn't happen earlier this year, and I'm talking about Arkansas Heroes and Villains Con. It was supposed to be this past January in Benton, Arkansas, but it got canceled due to lack of interest. Now, I don't know anything yet, but if I find out that it's happening next January, I will attend it. I will be a vendor. And yeah, and never say never. Next year I've decided that I'm going to do Longview Comic Con at the Mall Convention Center in Longview, Texas. Bank on it. And then there are other cons that I want to attend. I know that I'm not going. There's just no way in the world I'm going to be able to attend. I mean, to be a vendor at every con. But then there are other cons. I want to go to Mississippi Comic Con. I want to go to Fan Expo Dallas, New York Comic Con, and several others, and even the granddaddy of them all, San Diego Comic Con every July. I want to go to that one. That is like the con. If you don't go to any con, that's the one to go to. And then and then back here, I want to go to Louisiana Comic Con. It's been just over 4 years since the last time I went to one, and I love the people down there in Lafayette, very good people, and yeah. But if I had to say one, definitely Arkansas Heroes and Villains Con in Benton, Arkansas, if they have it. If not, Longview Comic Con next June. All right, really loving these questions y'all are asking me. Y'all keep them up, and I will ask and answer them. And remember, they can either pertain to me as a collector, they can pertain to me in terms of the hobby, but please, no personal or tasteless questions, or nothing that has or anything that has absolutely nothing to do with what this show or anything I just said. I will neither ask nor answer. All right, now it's time for Comically Speaking. So without further ado, let's talk comics. All right, there's only one thing we're going to talk about in this segment of Comically Speaking, and that's the news of a one-shot coming to Marvel called Original X-Men. And it's going to be written by Christos Gage with art by Greg Land. Now, the story, it has to do with the original 5 X-Men. I'm talking about Cyclops, Marvel Girl, Beast, Angel, and Iceman. And at this point, they've already gone back in time, or better, traveled to the future, their future, our present, and encountered their adult selves. And then along the way, they also altered time. But now they're doing it again. And this time, it's going to be a lot different. Now, when I first found out about this, I'm thinking, why? They did it once, why are they doing it again? This doesn't make any sense. But then I thought about something that I read in the previews when I stumbled upon it. It says it kicks off a story that promises to shake up the entire Marvel universe. And then I started thinking about what's going on in the X-Men books, with Fall of X. And then some of the stuff that have led up to the Fall of X with Beast ended up killing Wolverine, having him resurrected and then brainwashed into killing people for no reason. And then what Mr. Sinister did with Krakoa by making it into his own image, although that was temporary. And then Professor X with some more skeletons in the closet. Then I thought about all that, and I thought, okay, yeah, this is probably the perfect time for that. Because I think the only good thing that's happened since the Fall of X or the only few things, was the resurrection of Ms. Marvel, the Kamala Khan Ms. Marvel, as a matter of fact, but this time as a mutant. Then also the reformation of the Uncanny Avengers, which is also known as the Unity Squad. But other than that, Jonathan Hickman and company have been putting these folks through it. And they're showing that having all the mutants in the world all living on one island is not a very smart thing to do. And and within this, and then there was this secret society or this government on the island of Krakoa called the Quiet Council. And now they're starting to they're starting to disagree with stuff. They've been wanting to fight each other. Wolverine's been wanting to kill a few people as before he ended up leaving the island of Krakoa. It's just been a complete mess. And I'm not faulting the writers for doing this, because one thing I have faulted writers before, but I get what Jonathan Hickman and just about everyone else, what they're all doing. They're writing stories where they're all a bunch of big rats in a small cage, or big fish in a small pond, and and it's all coming undone. Now, anyone who faults the writing, now someone had told me that X-Men's is good. That the X-Men books now have been complete dumpster fires. I don't think so. I really don't think they are. They're just showing that adversity can also happen in the comics. And I just want to go ahead and say this. Yeah, sure, the world isn't all rainbows and unicorns and all that. But why should we expect comics to be rainbows and unicorns? We shouldn't. Come on. Look at all the stuff that's been happening in comics. Wonder Woman is now hated by everyone, and they don't want Amazons on U.S. soil anymore. And then Batman lost his hand and just and then several other things that have happened, and then the whole thing with Spider-Man and all that. You cannot expect comic books to be the exact opposite of what life is. You can't expect it to be all good. I mean, there has to be some adversity. So yeah. But as far as the original X-Men one-shot, if it's going to shake up the whole Marvel universe, honestly, with what's going on in the X-Men books, I don't think it can get any worse. As a matter of fact, I think with this one-shot, after thinking about it, I think it's probably going to get a little better. Who knows? All right, that's it for Comically Speaking. Now let's get to the comics I bought this week. Comic books I bought this week. All right, here we go. First up is Action Comics number 1057. The Avengers number 5. Avengers Annual 2023. Batman the Brave and the Bold number 5. Detective Comics number 1074. Really excited about this book, folks. The Flash number 1. Green Arrow number 4. The Immortal Thor number 2. The Invincible Iron Man number 10. Ms. Marvel, the New Mutant number 2. Excited about this one too. Power Girl number 1. Spider-Man India number 4. Star Trek number 12. Static Shadows of Dakota number 6. Tales of the Titans number 3. Ultimate Invasion number 4. Unstoppable Doom Patrol number 6. And finally, Wildcats number 11. Alright, that's 18, which brings the total number of comics that I bought since December of 1997 to 12,369. Alright, well, I hope y'all enjoyed this week's episode. And here's a question again for a free tee for next week's episode of the show. What year did the Guardians of the Galaxy make their first appearance in the comics? Now, here are the hints again. The first hint is that the Brady Bunch premiered in this year. The second hint, Dick Sargent replaced Dick York as Darren Stevens on Bewitched in this year. Third hint, Neil Armstrong walked on the moon in this year. The fourth hint, the Beatles released Abbey Road and played their last public performance in this year. The fifth hint, Isaac Hayes released his second studio album, Hot Buttered Soul, in this year. The sixth hint, Led Zeppelin released their first two albums in this year. The seventh hint, the band Chicago released their first ever studio album, the Chicago Transit Authority, in this year. The eighth hint, Judy Garland passed away in this year. And then the ninth and final hint, Woodstock. Everyone who answers correctly will be entered in the drawing for a free tee on next week's episode of the show. Alright, now this month is NICU Awareness Month. Now, a NICU, which stands for Neonatal Intensive Care Unit, also known as an Intensive Care Nursery, or an ICN, is an intensive care unit specializing in the care of ill or premature newborn infants. Now, the NICU is divided into several areas, including a critical care area for babies who require close monitoring and intervention, an intermediate care for infants who are stable but still require specialized care, and a step-down unit where babies who are ready to leave the hospital can receive additional care before being discharged. Now, neonatal refers to the first 28 days of life. Neonatal care, also known as specialized nurseries or intensive care, have been around since 1960. And it was in that year, in October, where the first American newborn intensive care unit was designed. And it was designed by Louis Gluck at Yale New Haven Hospital in New Haven, Connecticut. Now, NICUs are typically directed by one or more neonatologists and staffed by resident physicians, nurses, nurse practitioners, pharmacists, physician assistants, respiratory therapists, and dietitians. And many other ancillary disciplines and specialists are available at larger units. Now, I personally know some folks, when they were born, they spent some time in the NICU. And I know some folks who have had children that have spent time in the NICU. And this episode is in honor of all these that I just named, and it's also in honor of those babies that are currently fighting for life in the NICU, and they're in honor of their families, and they're in loving memory of all the babies who didn't make it. I personally know some parents that have had children that were in the NICU, and then until they were nursed to health, and then I know some that lost some, that had children in the NICU and didn't make it, and my heart goes out to all of them, especially those that had children and didn't make it. And this is a NICU Awareness Comic Hero tee. Inside of the speech bubble, you have the footprints and the open hearts. And here on the right sleeve, you have the footprints and then the words that are associated with the NICU that make a heart. And here on the left sleeve, you have an awareness ribbon with the footprints. Now, if you would like one of your own, you can find them on my website, IamTheComicHero.com, for $17, and I will donate half of each purchase to the March of Dimes. All right, here's the road ahead for the show. On next week's episode is the 10th anniversary episode of the Comic Hero Show, and I'm very excited about it. The shirt, I posted it on social media for everyone to see, and for those that are watching directly on YouTube, you're going to see it right now, so check it out. that's it. That's the shirt. And quite a few of y'all have done exactly what I've asked y'all to do. Y'all either like, love, or left positive comments. And for doing so, your name will be entered in the drawing. And then for those of y'all that are watching directly on YouTube, now that you've seen it, if you haven't done so on social media, or you don't follow me on social media, go ahead and do so now. And I'm going to do another video with the shirt, and I'm going to do the same. And those of y'all that have watched and haven't done so, y'all get a chance to do so again. But just so there isn't any confusion, the free tea question of the week. This is the shirt that you're entering for, the default black shirt. That's for the free tea question of the week. I mean, because I don't want anyone to get their shirt and say, "Wait a minute, this isn't the shirt this isn't the right shirt." But yeah, just so there's confusion. Then on episode 462, or 461 rather, I'm going to raise awareness of breast cancer. I do it every year on the second week of October. Then on episode 462, I'm raising awareness of multiple hereditary exostoses. And then on episode 463, I'm raising awareness against domestic violence. And I love raising awareness of different causes. I love being a voice of those that do not feel like they're being heard. Because I say this all the time, we're here to help each other. And so that's what I'm doing. All right, and if y'all have any suggestions for the 10th anniversary episode, please let me know. I mean, I'm going to have some decorations, but if y'all have anything else in mind, go ahead and let me do so. But please, nothing stupid and no alcohol. This is a family show, and I intend on keeping it that way. All right, if you're watching this for the first time on YouTube, welcome, and as soon as you're done, hit subscribe. If you're watching this on the Comic Book Lovers Facebook page, welcome, and as soon as you're done, go on YouTube and hit subscribe. All right, I'm Victor Noli, I'm the Comic Hero. I'll see you next week for the 10th anniversary episode of the show, which is episode 460. So until then, be safe, be blessed, be a hero.